Before we begin, this video is sponsored by Sleeve Chief. You can find good quality accessories to make your deck and gear look good. Get card protector sleeves with artworks of all your favorite archetypes and cards for the main and extra deck. There's extraordinary border sleeves, and they've got you covered with deck boxes, playmats, and dice as well. Head on over to Sleeve Chief's website through my affiliate link in the description box below and use my code SHADOW at checkout to get 5% off your entire order. Let's begin. Hey guys, I'm Naya and welcome back to the channel. So today I am joined by one of the top players of Yu-Gi-Oh right now and a YCS winner, and actually a back-to-back 3v3 Las Vegas YCS winner among that. So I'm joined by Dominic Couch.
Hi.
Welcome to the channel. I'm really glad to have you today. We're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to mention your 3v3 YCS win, of course. We're going to talk about Kashtira. We're going to talk about Tier. We're going to talk about some other more broad stuff in terms of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! So I'm really excited to get right into it. But before that, I would like to hear a couple of things about your competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Career, basically, how you got into it, how you got excited for it.
Sure. So I got into competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, I guess if we go all the way back, I did Dragon Duels in 2013 and 2014. I did not even top like the Dragon Duel tournament in 2013. In 2014, I got top 4, which is a match away from Worlds, so that was sad. But then I played pretty casually through 2015, and then I stopped playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Altogether, all the way until like the end of 2017 or like start of 2018, somewhere in there. I went to my first YCS in 2018. And then after I went to my first YCS with like some local friends, it just kind of like took off for me. I realized that it was something that I really wanted to do. I really liked the community. As time went on, like my closer friends all played Yu-Gi-Oh! As well. And then I guess like 2018 to 2020, I started topping like my first tournaments. I think it was like my third or my fourth YCS. I topped, which was my first top ever was the 200th YCS in Columbus, Ohio. And then since then, I've topped 22 different Konami tournaments.
That's insane.
Won 2 of them, both being the 3v3s. Can't win on my own. Some like goals I've set for myself is I really want to like represent the USA at Worlds. That's something I would love to do. But yeah, I just love the tournament setting. After a while, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Came pretty naturally to me. This is just something I cared about a lot when I was younger. I used to like literally put in infinite hours, which I would probably never do again. Like I would never play as much now than I did in the past, because I think I probably played like an unhealthy amount of Yu-Gi-Oh! To get to like where I am. But
and you probably wouldn't have otherwise, though.
I guess the rewards there are to be reaped from it have been reaped, so that's good. But I play Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot more now just because of like the friends I've like, as like cliche as it sounds or whatever, like I play Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot more now because of the friends I've made along the way, and that like the majority of all my friends are Yu-Gi-Oh! Players now. And these tournaments are just like mini vacations with my friends. From around the world that I don't get to see very often, and then I get to play the tournament on the side. And of course, I don't like show up to tournaments like not prepared at all, but I certainly don't play as much now as I used to when I was younger. But I think like as the better you get and the better you get at like theorying and playing, it becomes like riding a bike at a certain point. Like you don't necessarily get that much better the more practice you put in. Once you reach like a certain level, you just need to make sure you understand everything and you show up like prepared, and you don't have to like read cards at the tournament. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was kind of my kind of my journey is like 2018 to 2020. Started topping, then like through COVID, I didn't really play Yu-Gi-Oh at all, and then end of COVID came back and kept going strong, like going to every North American YCS, and then I also went to the 3v3 in Mexico, and then since COVID, I've topped every single YCS I've entered.
That's insane. That's great.
That's kind of where it stops, I guess.
No, that's literally the point where it just keeps going and just gets better and better and better. So, I mean, that's wild. Like, props to you. And also, I'm really excited to have you today. Of course, like all of your accomplishments just go to show that you have a very smart mind when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh. So, of course, I'm hyped to be able to host you today. So, the first thing we're gonna go into is basically the Team YCS experience, like both of them, and you actually topped like back-to-back cities, and it's just, I think that's amazing. So first, like maybe just go over your entire experience when it comes to that, and then we're going to go into a bit more specific questions.
Yeah, so my thirds for Mexico and Vegas were both different. In Mexico, it was me and Silverman and a guy named Hansel Aguero, who is a two-time national champion, our reigning national champion. That guy is super broken, good friend of mine now. And then in Vegas, our third was Alex Cancel, but I played with Silverman both times, as well as played with Silverman like when we won the first time. Silverman is just like,
he's like the tried and true
the energy
partner
that guy brings to the team is he's something else. Like people will. First of all, he definitely duels better than your average bear, and people will like make fun of me for not trying to play with somebody that is more broken, but you guys just don't understand. He's literally worth his weight in gold. He is just, I don't know, playing 3v3s without him just doesn't sound as fun as playing them with him, and I would just play with him until we lose, I guess. But
okay, that's fair.
It's just the rides like with Silverman is crazy, and I think that's like really what makes the 3v3 for me is like outside of doing well in the tournament, like being able round after round to have like the same energy popping off with your teammates. When you win like round two, when like you win round two and the pop off is like just as close to like when you win the tournament, like the energy we all share with each other, just like round after round after round, just makes it so fun. Like it's nothing that you could do on your own. 3v3s are certainly my favorite tournaments, and I get that like results wise that probably sounds pretty biased, but even if I hadn't won two of them, like they'd still just be my favorite tournaments. They truly bring out the like hanging out with your friends aspect, which is already what I care about with Yu-Gi-Oh so much. Like the fact that I get to do that during the tournament as well as, outside of the tournament like I usually would anyway, just it makes Yu-Gi-Oh so much better because like at the end of the day, the card game is not why I keep playing. It's because of the friends. So like getting to share a tournament with your friends is just like one notch above like what a regular YCS already is. 3v3s are my favorite tournaments. They're so much fun. Mexico was a blast, even though we lost in Top Cut really early. We still went to like a luchador show. We just all in all, it was just a great experience. Like I said that the language barrier is kind of rough when you go to like Mexico and like Central and South America. Like unless you have a super fluent Spanish speaking person on your team, and even then like they're playing their own match. So unless you're in a judge call, and because then like the judge, like they have judges that speak English, but like just communicating with your opponent, like I think playing that YCS in tier format where there's so much interaction between you and your opponent, like not speaking fluent Spanish definitely hurt us. I speak some Spanish. Monte's like pretty fluent, and Silverman does not speak it at all. So that like was kind of rough.
For sure.
For like me and Silverman, and even for Hante, there were a couple bumps in the road. Like the Spanish wise, just you know, when you're getting like chain link 10 and you and your opponent don't speak the same language, it's always going to get complex.
It's going to get complex in English. Like, so, yeah. It's even worse.
That's just like my biggest complaint with that tournament. But outside of that, it was great. Wish we did better, but, you know, like the tops are not what make the tournament.
For sure.
So,
yeah.
Vegas, yeah, it was pretty crazy to defend.
Did you feel a lot of pressure
and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Like me and Silverman's energy with each other when we were back is just crazy. Like I think in top 4, like after Ryan Yu and them won, then they panned to us like in the Top Cut arena. We were not the feature match, and they caught it at like right after we won the match, and like me and Silverman are like going crazy, like popping off and hugging and stuff. Like, there's just truly nothing like it because like you just don't have people to share it with, like going deep solo. Like being able to share it with other people, is just so crazy.
I mean, that's amazing.
I still can't believe we won again. Quite crazy, but.
So now you gotta defend the third time, right? That's like the pressure behind it.
Yeah, I would definitely be playing with Silverman again.
Oh, for sure. So what was behind, like, the thoughts behind your deck choices for the event? Like this last one in particular, since it's a new format.
Yeah, so admittedly, and he'll be the first to say this, Silverman does not play Yu-Gi-Oh! Like at all.
So after your entire speech of you winning 2 YCSs,
he does not play Yu-Gi-Oh!
He does not play Yu-Gi-Oh!
The first time either. He did not play Yu-Gi-Oh! At all before Mexico. And if you think not doing well in Mexico motivated him to play more before Vegas, you would be dead right. He got in like a couple games with the Kashtira deck before Vegas, but he just doesn't play Yu-Gi-Oh! So when like we are selecting decks for the 3v3, the tier YCS being an exception, and I guess the first time was an exception too. So the first time when we won with Scott, they both played the dinosaur deck, which was supposed to be a really easy deck, and Scott knew it really well, so he was supposed to be able to help Silverman a lot. And then Silverman was in the middle because he like is who we figured would need the most help.
Okay.
And then that strategy worked out, and we also figured that like other teams' best players would be B, so we would just like feed him to the fishes. You know what I mean? All
right. So and you played Invoked,
hopefully
right?
Hopefully, me and Scott would win.
And you played like the Shaddoll deck.
Yeah, that was when I won with the Shaddoll deck, right? Neither of my teammates knew what my cards did at all when I played the Shaddoll deck.
So you were on your own, and you were carrying the other guy as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
No, I'm just messing, but yeah.
I mean, like, Scott and Steve have both said it, like, that tournament was really funny. It would be, like, one of them wins, one of them loses, and my deck was a lot slower than theirs, so I would, like, naturally be the last match before we finished, and, like, it would be so funny, because Scott was A and I was C, or maybe I was A and Scott was, I'm not sure, I think I was A, and Scott was C, so when Scott's match and Silverman's match was over, Scott would just be like, "Hey, Couch, how's it looking?" Because he like, my teammates just had no idea what my cards did, and it was just so crazy. And the whole story behind that one was really good. And for that one, we all just kind of decided like they were both gonna play the decks they were comfortable with, and then I was gonna play the deck that I thought was the best deck.
Yeah.
Which was Shaddoll for that tournament.
Okay.
And then for Mexico, me and Hanse both played the Tier Element deck, and because we knew it was the best deck. And then Steve just like, the Tier Element deck that's not a deck you can really just pick up. Like the Dino deck was, or the Kashtira deck was. Like,
for sure.
It's not a deck you can just pick up. Like when you play a mirror, it gets so complex. Like the better player normally wins when like both people are playing perfectly with interactions, right? And also playing the tier deck ourselves, like me and Hanse could help a lot less than if we were playing an easier deck ourselves. So that one, Silverman just played Foolanderies. It was between like Kashtira, Foolanderies, and Fluanderies was a deck that I knew really well.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know the Kashtira deck really well before Vegas or before Mexico, so we
Mm-hmm.
had him play the Fluanderies deck because that was the deck I'd be able to help with more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And we figured that and we thought that Kashtira and Fluanderies at that tier tournament were probably at about the same,
Yeah.
which deck we actually thought was better.
Mm-hmm.
And so that worked out to get the top 16, but then you fast forward to the week after, and now our deck choices are we have a lot more choice in the matter.
Mm-hmm.
And we all played the Kashtira deck, same main deck card for card. Huge shout out goes to Ryan Levine for that one. I thought about playing Flunder a lot at that tournament, and then in Mexico, Ryan Levine just beat my ass senseless on Monday. It's just you cannot beat this deck. Please play Kashtira, and at a certain point, I just had to say okay. I tapped out. I'll play Kashtira, and then Kashtira. So why playing Kashtira helped so much in the 3v3 setting was that deck wins or loses very quickly.
Right.
Is all matches that deck plays are pretty one-sided, whether it is in favor or against you. And so what that meant was that all of my matches would be done in 10 to 15 minutes. And then they would be either grinding in game 1 or they would be in game 2 or game 3. And then whichever one of them looked like they were favored to win their match was who I should help. And then that way it was I had to win my match quickly, and then I'd be able to help one of them win because I was just more familiar with the deck than they were. And I think that's really important in the 3v3, recognizing the strengths and weaknesses of your team, and being able to come up with a plan for it, right? To mitigate. It's almost like deck building in a sense, right? Where you need to capitalize on your strengths and try to mitigate the weaknesses. The same is true for team composition. That's why I sat in the middle for this tournament, but the last time we won, I did not sit in the middle. And I believe that both decisions were correct. The first time, Scott knew the deck Steve was playing way better than I did. And so Steve should sit next to both of us, which was why he was in the middle. And then this one, I knew the deck way better than both my teammates, which was not the case the first time. So me sitting in the middle was better. And I think that being able to recognize that and you guys all unify together and lock in what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses. That's how you get to work and get it done when it comes to a 3v3.
So how do you go around you having to sort of discuss with your teammates without your opponent knowing too much and without you giving information away?
So I'll say that that is one weakness to all playing the same deck is if you activate a card like Pot of Prosperity, you reveal 6 cards, and you reveal non-engine cards, your opponent will call them out or something, and then they know that all 3 of you play them. But when it's non-hand traps and it's cards like Book of Eclipse and stuff like that in the type of format we're in, dude, you can't really play around Book of Eclipse even if you know it's there.
True.
Other than trying to lock 5 zones, and the Kashtira deck can't always do that anyway. So.
Well, that's a great segue. I wanted to talk about the Kashtira lock everything meme that already blew up the entire
Mike Albanese likes to make fun of me and call it the Dombo.
They call it the what?
Mike Albanese makes fun of me and calls it the Dombo.
Oh my god, that's amazing. So yeah, how do you feel about becoming a meme in that sense?
It's pretty funny. So what I don't think a lot of people realize is I maybe did that combo 3 or 4 times the entire tournament, and it just happened to happen twice in the finals.
Yeah,
because I was playing against Despia, My hand was like all gas with Ash Blossom, game 1 and 3.
Huh?
And so like there's like two sets of mentalities with this. The first is like, well, you make a Rise Heart and then you have Ash uh to like back up the Rise Heart. That's probably enough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like my mentality is the only way they can, like, I'm gonna have a Rise Heart anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather put them on like drawing Nibiru
Mm-hmm.
than them being able to have combinations of cards like Super Polymerization or like cross out for my Ash Blossom
Mm-hmm.
or like like a card like Book of Eclipse and then Aqua Dolphin or like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the contents of their deck, but I know that they only have one way to stop me from locking 5 zones, and I know that every single card that they could play in their deck to beat me is a
Mm-hmm.
spell and trap. So
Mm-hmm.
if I lock 5 spells and traps, like there's nothing they can do. I know they can't extend past their normal summon.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like the best normal summon they have is going to be like Fallen of Albaz, and that just gets like a Rise Hearted and cleaned up.
Mm-hmm.
And then like if I am to get Nibiru, they then have to have like Nibiru, a way to Brand of Fusion, and a way to beat Ash, which is
Mm-hmm.
3 different ways, which is like 3 different card combinations,
Mm-hmm.
rather than like only 2 in this scenario I explained that I lose when
Mm-hmm.
it's like a Rise Heart backed up by only Ash.
Okay.
Because that was like the problem is I did not draw any additional non-engine. Like if my hand was 3 engine cards, Ash, and another non-engine,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe I go like the Rise Heart route and play around Nibiru because I feel like it's pretty solidified at that point. Like if it's like a Rise Heart with like Lance and Ash, like I'm way more
Mm-hmm.
likely, or like Barrier Ash, like I'm way more likely to just do the Rise Heart pass play. Not even likely, I'm guaranteed to do that play.
Mm-hmm.
But when Ash is my only non-engine at all, like I don't have a reason to not try to lock 5. I don't have a reason to not try to lock 5 when that play always wins the game. And then like even if I get nibbed, I have follow up with Birth, um, and preparations game 1, and then I have I have Ash Blossom as well. So like the chances they do like something of significance and kill me are pretty low.
I mean, I'm so glad that you went over this because this was actually one of my questions for today. So you already covered this, the entire what's happening with Kashtira now, when to go for what. So thank you. I didn't even need to work for this one. So great. We covered it. Moving on. So what's your thoughts like overall on zone locking, and not only zone locking, like literally locking the opponent out, like with Gimmick Puppet, with, I don't know, Scythe. We saw a bunch of that. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, thank God Scythe is banned now.
Yes.
So I never have to deal with that again.
Mm-hmm.
But the Gimmick Puppet is just as bad, like if
Yeah.
not worse.
Mhm.
Like the only way you can like actually deal with the Gimmick Puppet is by like hand trapping him and preventing it. Like
Mm-hmm.
trying to win after it happens, I only did once during the whole tournament, and I like started siding Dimensional Barrier going second against the branded deck
Mm-hmm.
because of the Gimmick Puppet, and my logic was like,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm able to draw like another non-engine card, like Book of Eclipse or something, for example,
Mm-hmm.
like they don't end on branded in red with the what's it called, with the Gimmick Puppet.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's normally like just the Gimmick Puppet.
Right?
So and that's and like Mercurier. So like in that
Yeah.
scenario, if you like go like set Eclipse, set Barrier,
Mm-hmm.
you like barrier them for fusion. Then they like try to attack to like clear the puppet, and like try to set up expulsion again if they
Mhm.
can, like via retribution. And
Mm-hmm.
then like if you eclipse them there and make sure the puppet doesn't die,
Mm-hmm.
then you actually have like a reasonable way to try to win the game
Mm-hmm.
at that point. But like that's so unlikely and probably also involves like Birth and a starter. Like you have to be able to pick like 4 out of the 6 cards in your hand for that to even be like a way to win the game.
Mhm.
After it happens,
Mm-hmm.
you're just like way more likely to try to draw like 2 hand traps and prevent it altogether. Or, you know, sometimes Ash will just end their turn completely, make it so they can't get to it, or like it's like semi hard to do through Dimension Shifter as well.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, like, I think it's like, if you're playing the lock, you're gonna be fine with it, right? You know, you're gonna be like, okay, great, I'm just trying to win, but playing against it just sucks.
Yeah.
It's pretty much...
The Gimmick Puppet lock is really difficult to deal with.
Yes.
When we talk about, like, zone locking with Kashtira, I've actually talked about this a couple times on my own YouTube channel, but why I think it's really difficult to deal with it is they cannot actually lock 5 with every hand they draw. Like,
okay, yeah, that's fair.
So normally they will just a Rise Heart pass out of, like, that is the best play that their hand can make, because, like, the lock 3 play sucks. Like, the lock 3 play plays into literally everything. So you should almost never do this lock 3 play. It's, like, only correct in very, very few scenarios. So, like, you should be a Rise Heart pass or you should be lock 5. Like, those are, like, the alternate end boards. And they cannot lock 5 in every single hand they draw. So, like, I feel like you're forced to prepare for like, a Rise Heart pass, and then you have to have like, some form of answer in your deck to lock 5, whether it's generic hand traps and you're like, I'm just gonna hold, like, impermanence for Diablosis, like something like that, or you play, like, Nibiru, but they're just so unlikely to actually do it that I feel like it makes it very difficult to prepare for, because the cards that beat this lock 5 play are normally terrible against the deck if it doesn't do that. So that, like, creates this kind of dilemma of, like, if the lock 5 play is Rock and the normal play is Scissors, like, you can't really throw paper. You know what I mean? So that's a dilemma we're still trying to figure out, like, in my own circle. Like, how do we prepare for both? Because it feels almost impossible to deal with both. Like, I feel like you kind of have to commit one way or the other, and when it happens, it's unlucky.
It's so interesting because that's literally, like, the talk of the community as of late. I feel like I ask people that come and talk to me, like, on the channel, and overall, like, IRL, when you talk to people, or, like, Twitter or whatever, like, everyone is just literally buzzing about, like, what to do, how to deal with it. It's, I don't know, like, it's horrible, and you can't really predict what your opponent is going to be doing anyway, because not every single Kashtira player is going to be as, like, elaborate in their plan of what they should be doing, like you were right now, for example. So it just gets even weirder and harder. And I guess with that, we can actually move on to the other topic, which I wanted it to be side decking. So, like, overall, maybe in general, your thoughts on how people should be approaching it, because too many times you see people, you know, sort of taking some choices that they don't really stand behind and don't really know why they're doing it, or maybe they play, like, a lot of play sets and no actual ratios. And I think, like, the most important thing is to really build your main deck together with your side deck and not just do it afterwards as, like, an afterthought. So what's your thoughts on that entire thing?
Yeah, so, like, normally what happens is I build my main deck and I know what I want my main deck prepared for, and then I look at, like, going first and second in every single matchup. And I look at my main deck and I'm like, how many cards in my main deck, like, actually just suck or I want to take out? Like, how weak is my main deck against this deck in general? And then however many cards I want to take out, then, like, in my side deck is exactly how many cards I want to put in. Like, I'm never, unless it's a matchup I didn't really plan for, I'm never really, like, sitting... Or unless there's something I overlooked, right? Like, during Vegas, I overlooked the Gimmick Puppet. Like, I didn't really know about it.
Okay.
Or like I knew about it, but I was like, man, like, not everybody's gonna be.
Oh, right, it's gonna be one of those
and
things.
And then everybody played it.
Yes.
So then I had to adjust my side deck plan when I realized, like, during the tournament. When I realized that everybody was playing this Gimmick Puppet, and now I needed to put Barrier in my deck, even going second, because then you have to, like, make some on-the-fly decisions. But outside of, like, something changing during the tournament, and and like it not being what you expected,
Mm-hmm.
you should know like what cards are coming in your deck and what cards are going out.
Yes.
Like before a match even starts.
Mm-hmm.
It was like we all do the same thing. Like we all have like side deck plans before the tournament. What cards go in, what cards come out in X matchup, and like we like make that sideboard plan like while we're building our side decks. Not like we don't take 15 cards, put them in our side deck, and then be like, okay, what cards go in and what matchup? No, like while my side deck is 15 blank cards, I'll look at my Kashtira main deck and be like, okay, I take out these 6 cards in this matchup, so 15 of these blanks need to be 6 cards that can go in this matchup.
Yes.
And like that's like just how side decking works in a nutshell. Like at least that's how I look at it.
No, I think that's literally like how it should be, and it's insanely hard. I'm not saying it's not. It's really difficult to like realize which cards are worth it, especially in a very diverse meta. Like right now, you need to like actually decide how many decks you're willing to respect to then, you know, have cards prepared for them across the main deck and the side deck, because you need to realize like if I'm going to go up against, I don't know, an X amount of Kashtira and maybe an X amount of Despia, I probably should have a bunch of cards for those matchups in the main deck already, because if I don't, then I'm throwing game 1 anyway. So like I think those things are very, very important, and yeah, like I think it's good to talk about them. Moving on to something else. So you mentioned a ton of different decks actually in this video so far. You know, you played Invoke Shaddoll, you played, of course, Kashtira, there's Flunder. Sure. So those are all decks of very, you know, different types actually, like comparing Flunder to even Tyr with your successes with Tyr and all of that. So how do you go about learning different decks, and what are some of the advantages of, you know, having the ability to play different ones, and how do you go about it?
So normally if I think a deck is good, like at all, in a format, I will play like whenever we do our like minimal testing and stuff, because like the majority of my group is like theory. Like we like with Jesse and Mike Albanese and Bowden and stuff like that, like we Avery, like the majority of us don't actually want to play a lot, nor do we like get more out of playing, and the group definitely flips. Like there are people like Jeff who actually learn a lot more by playing. I feel the opposite, where I feel like when you're like working on a specific card to see if it works, like playing is better. But I think that like theory is what helps a lot more for me to prepare for tournaments. But when a new deck does come out that I think is good, like when we do our testing, I will play some number of games with, you know, every deck that I think is good, so that I know how they work. Because if you know how they work, it also makes it easier to beat them. Because like you can put yourself in, like during a tournament, if your opponent opens with like, you know, some like 2-card combo or whatever, you know exactly what they're going to try to do.
Yes.
And like what the rest of their hand might look like if they led this way versus an alternate way. And then that you as your opponent, from you playing the deck in the past, you now know like how you probably should interact with them, because you can kind of figure out what the rest of their hand is if you've played the deck already. And so I think it's very important for everybody to know how to play every deck that they think is good. And like in an ideal world, you know how to play literally every single deck ever, but nobody has time for that. So that's why I put the emphasis on like the decks you think are good and the decks you think you can play against. Because like I'm never gonna sit there and be like, yeah, I know exactly what Generator's turn 1 looks like. I don't. Like I just don't. Like
do any of us though?
You can't know everything.
So, do you have a preference, like combo control?
Yeah. So, I've obviously played like some very, very different style decks.
Yes.
Across my accolades, but the decks I like the most are definitely the combo decks. Okay. But I feel like the decks I normally go the deepest with end up being like the like kind of mid-rangey ones that err more on the side of like when they do their like mid-rangey board, the board's like pretty close to like if it goes in uninterrupted and everything like goes your way, you normally win. Like I really liked the Orcus deck. I did really well with the Orcus deck.
Okay.
The Shadal deck is another one where I was like, yeah, I feel like if I set up my board with the Shadal deck, like I can't really lose. The Kashtira deck is another deck that was kind of like that, where I was like, man, like my board's like doesn't look that impressive, but I feel like almost unbeatable every time I go first. And so like those are the decks that I feel like I end up going the deepest with, but the combo decks are definitely my favorite. Like, and I've gone deep with those as well, just not as consistently.
Going from diverse decks to diverse, or maybe not so diverse formats, what is your take on the Tier 0 format that just happened and a bit of a more diverse format we're just moving into? Because you did well in both. So what did you really like or dislike about either of them?
So I think my opinion on this one's actually kind of an unpopular one.
Oh, okay. I'm hyped for that. Let's hear it.
I actually did not enjoy the tier format like as much as you would like think I did.
Okay.
Like, I definitely enjoyed it, but it just it lasted for so long that it just got so boring. Like I'm somebody that really loves deck building.
Right.
And like that is my favorite part of the game, of like actually playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Like deck building is what I love about it so much, like so much more than actually playing. And in like that tier format, there's not a lot of room for deck building. Like,
I mean, yeah.
I felt like 36 cards in your deck were like mandatory.
Yes.
And so when the decks build themselves, like obviously it's really good. It's pretty good for the game, because like normally the better players will just always do well, and the better players are the ones that are normally winning tournaments, like in those type of formats, because they have put in like the most hours with the deck, or they know how to play the deck the best, and like it's super rewarding to actually know how to play the deck the best in those formats. But like I enjoy those formats every now and then. I think they're really good for the game. But when it's like the same tier 0 format for like 6 months or like 4 months even, like it's just so boring.
Did you play the Spiral one as well?
Tier was the best. I'll say that like tier was tier 0 like all the way since November, like until February, and tier was the best deck way like beyond that. Like it was the best deck in when was Niagara? Like Niagara was like, I mean,
tier came out in August. Yeah, and then it started doing well immediately.
Deck since August, and it was tier 0 since November. Like, that's just way too long for a deck to live. Like, honestly.
Fair. So, to maybe round things off with something different than just tournaments and stuff like that, you actually started your own YouTube channel as well. So, talk to me a little bit about that as well, like the inspiration and all of that. We mentioned it before we started recording, but I would love to hear it together with the people as well.
Yeah. So, some of my friends, Jesse being the biggest one, like definitely pushed me to do it, and he's super helpful and super supportive of like what to do with the YouTube channel and stuff like that. But I've always kind of wanted to get into it, and I've always felt like, you know, me as a competitive player, like I also do all this like coaching and stuff on Metafy, right?
Yes.
And YouTube is a way to not only bridge people into that, but also just kind of like show people what they're working with, right? Like nobody's gonna want to book a lesson or like talk on social media about like somebody they know nothing about or how they think or anything, right? Like people would much rather like walk into the door like already having like some sort of information or their own interpretation of how somebody thinks or whatever before they like ask them to teach them things. And So I not only wanted to have a YouTube channel for that, because it's a way to like help the coaching stuff that I really, really enjoy doing grow more, and like make it something that I can actually do for a while. But I also really, really enjoy it because it's a way I get to share the not tournament side of things with people, right? Like,
okay.
I really wanted to. I recorded a vlog for Mexico, and I just thought the vlog was so terrible that I didn't upload it at all. And then I didn't vlog Vegas because my Mexico vlog was so terrible. And I take pride in like the stuff I do. I don't want to post something I think sucks. So
I mean, that's the correct way to do it. I was
just so bad at vlogging and needed to like work on it that I didn't even record one for Vegas. And boy, do I wish I did. Well, I did
not. You probably should have. I mean, you're only gonna get better with recording more.
I want to play Yu-Gi-Oh 24/7. The prizing and stuff like that is a lot better in other games. Like I'm still playing, like, outside of me liking Yu-Gi-Oh is what got me into the door, but the friends are like why I keep playing. Like we just get to travel and explore new cities and do all this stuff every single tournament and just like hang out with people I wouldn't normally get to hang out with that, ended up being like my closest friends, and to be able to share that and hopefully inspire other people to do that as well, and other people that are on the fence, like, should I go to a YCS? Maybe should I not? Like, convince those people to give YCS their first chance, and then maybe they end up liking it as much as me, and it becomes a huge part of their life. And so I wanted to be able to like share that with other people, and that was kind of like the inspiration behind me making one myself. But yeah, I think Jesse does a lot better than me, so I would definitely go check his channel out as well.
For sure. Yeah, Jesse was a guest on here on the channel as well, and he had incredible insight. Right after the ban list dropped, we talked about everything ban list. So yeah, I mean, I think what you just said is beautiful, and I wish you all the best with your channel, and I'll put all of your info in the description for sure, so you guys make sure to check him out, check out his Metafy stuff and all of that. And overall, I'm just very happy we did this today. I think this was a great conversation about everything tournament, 3v3, zone locking, sighting, everything. So it was great to have you. You're always welcome back if you would like to return, and you guys, if you liked it,
anytime you'd like to have me back. I feel like I might have talked too much today, but
no, I enjoyed it a lot. we should do like another hour, but people will probably bail on us at some point, so we just need to do another video separately. So yeah, you guys,
you want to have me back, I'd be more than glad to.
I will keep that in mind for sure. I'll hold you for your word. So make sure to like the video, guys. Let us know down in the comments if you liked it, and make sure to check out all of his stuff, all of his information, sub to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.